erratic
out there. Thank you very much for talking to us on BBC Breakfast. That's Becky Maynard there, a shelter box response volunteer.
7:23, 7:24 the time now. She's been called the real-life Paddington because, like the fictional character, she's an endangered spectacled bear from Peru, need of help and a new home.
Cholita was in a terrible state when she was discovered. She was so stressed by her treatment that at the circus that she'd lost all of her hair. Well, an appeal for help was launched and the bear was rescued by Jan Creamer and Tim Phillips from the charity Animal Defenders International. And join us now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
She came back Friday?
No,
or she was rescued. You came back Friday.
Yeah. We came back yesterday, yes. So we've been in Peru for about since mid-February, something like that.
And how's Cholita?
She's doing really well. She, as you said, she has alopecia from the stress of the way she's been kept, and she's quite elderly, so she's kind of not in the best condition. She's quite stiff, and her hands at the front hurt because she can't really walk on them. Her fingers were removed, and her teeth were broken off. But she's really gentle. She absolutely adores grapes. She's been eating and eating and eating. She loves her fruit, especially grapes, and she takes her food very gently. She'll take it from your hand very gently. And as you can see on the video, we built her a bath so that she could bathe every day and just help to ease her muscles. And she's been really enjoying having her first ever nest. We've given her a really deep nest, and she's buried herself in under the straw and created a little home for herself.
Tim, fill us in on a bit of the background to this, because Cholita is in Peru. It's a long way from here. What brought her to your attention?
Well, we secured a prohibition of wild animals in circuses in Peru, and we've been there for almost a year now, working with the authorities to eradicate the use of wild animals in circuses. They were given about 2 years to eliminate these animals, and many defied the law. So this operation, we will be rescuing 33 lions. We've already relocated almost 40 monkeys and other animals, and mountain lions, tigers, all sorts of things.
So Cholita was performing in a circus?
She had been performing in a circus. She'd actually been seized already by the government a few years ago, and they'd never been able to find a home for her. And so it was kind of a lucky series of events. We were rescuing some animals from a circus up in northern Peru, and we were alerted to Cholita. And really, her story sort of caught people's imaginations, and we said to the officials, hand her over to us and we will find a new life for this bear, she's really suffered a great deal.
And it's awful to see. It's lovely to know that the rest of her life will be lovely, we hope. But how do the governments react to the work that you're doing? Because obviously we find this abhorrent, we find this behaviour abhorrent, but is it accepted that this treatment of animals happens?
Well, the Peruvian government, like other governments in South America, have now ended the use of wild animals in circuses because they recognise the suffering that the animals go through, and the public out there feel particularly strongly about it. They don't want to take their children to shows where animals will have been brutalised just for entertainment, and so there is a lot of support there. But what the governments need is support in terms of logistics and what do they do with the animals once they've passed a law. And so that's where we come in and we say to them, well, if you pass a law, we will help you. We will deal with all of the animals. So we've been going around with the wildlife officials, picking up all of the animals as we go along.
Yeah, and Tim, just tell us a bit more about Cholita. Is it boy or girl?
It's a she. She's a she.
Sorry, I didn't know.
She is a girl.
So Cholita, does she recognise people? I mean, what sort of rapport does she have with individuals?
Well, she's changing all the time, really. She was living in... we've got her original circus cage, and it is 1 metre wide by about 1 metre and a bit long. An absolutely tiny confinement, like on a factory farm or something. She was then taken to a zoo, and she just had a bare pen. And one of the greatest things for me was we had to move her out of the zoo. It wasn't very easily designed, so we had to adapt her old circus cage, get her into that, take her and then put her into an ADI travel unit. And the expression on her face, I don't want to anthropomorphise too much, but it was sheer joy as she bounded into this nest. As Jan says, they cut off her toes, and so walking on her front feet is uncomfortable. And she just nested down in these blankets and straw and looked up, and I would swear she smiled.
Well, look, it's so good that it's having a happy ending. Thank you very much for telling us the story. Thank you.
Thank you. Coming up in the next half hour on Breakfast. This is an advert that sparked hundreds of complaints around the UK. We're going to ask one woman who protested against the poster why it's caused such a backlash.
Headlines coming up in just a moment. Of course, we'll have more on the news this morning. The Duchess of Cambridge has been admitted to hospital in the early stages of labour. The very latest on that coming up in just a moment. Now, she's been called the real-life Paddington because, like the fictional character, she is an endangered spectacled bear from Peru in need of help and a new home.
Chilita was in a terrible state when she was discovered. She was so stressed by her treatment at a circus that she lost all her hair. Well, after an appeal for help, the bear was rescued.
Jan Creamer and Tim Phillips from the charity Animal Defenders International are both with us now. We saw the pictures. Good morning, by the way.
Good morning.
Saw the pictures there. Can you just sort of go back a little bit? How did you know about her situation? Where did it start?
Well, actually, we were asked by the Peru wildlife officials whether we would take her. We've been working in Peru for about a year now. They have banned the use of wild animals in circuses, which we hope will happen here. And we were talking to them about the export documents for our lions. We're taking about 34 lions to the United States. And during the conversation, they said at one point, well, do you have any room for anything else? Would you take a bear? So obviously we said yes, straight away, no question, we'll take any animal that needs help. And they then told us about Chilita, and you know, as she said, she suffered terribly. She's lost her hair, her claws were hacked off her front feet, her teeth were broken, but she's an absolutely adorable little personality. She's so gentle. You can hand feed her grapes and she takes them really delicately. She has very nice table manners. And so we said we would take her. There was room on the flight, and obviously our vets are assessing her. She is between 20 and 25, so she's quite elderly, and she's quite stiff. So we're going to just take a long time to assess her before we decide exactly what we should do.
So what does the future hold for her? I know you've got to assess it, but what are the possibilities?
Well, at the top of the list at the moment is going to a sanctuary in the US where she'd have plenty of space and a natural environment.
Will she become, because you've mentioned she's got lovely table manners and she's very, very sweet, which is not naturally what you'd assume how for a bear to behave. Will she develop her instincts again, do you think?
Probably not. I mean, she has been very seriously physically abused. She's had her teeth broken off, she's had her claws cut off, and that's disabled her. She's uncomfortable walking, so the environment's going to be important. We've built a small pool for her in the holding centre where we've got her, and she's going in that and getting a little bit of physio, I guess. So, and she's got a big nest of hay at the moment. So with these animals, with the lions, the tigers and the other animals we've got, our aim is to give them as close as possible to what they should have.
And presumably best for her to stay local. I mean, it was better than taking her, a flight and all the cost and everything that entails?
Absolutely. I mean, we're raising money for her and the other animals at the moment, and the decision will be if the veterinary team say that it's best for her to go and she can fly, then that's what we'll do. If not, we'll simply build her another home. You know, there is always going to be a solution. There's going to be a forever home for Chilita, whatever happens.
Jan, Tim, thank you very much. Good luck with the campaign.
I'm sure she's very grateful. Now, time now, 6 minutes to 10. We've been bringing you the news this morning that the Duchess of Cambridge has gone into labour.
Yes, a statement from Kensington Palace says she was taken to St Mary's Hospital with the Duke of Cambridge at 6 o'clock this morning.